with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
We understand that a lot has happened the last couple of days, even within the course of this week, in the world of business. For example, banks have now recorded a significant drop in bank-related fraud, the first time since 2021, all thanks to BVN and NIN. Aren't we all happy that BVN and NIN are now paying off in ways that are measurable? But again, there's much more than that, including what has happened yesterday at the stock markets. Here is a summary for you. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into
Yes,
headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Just yesterday on the show here, we took our time to look at, this gold refinery that is proposed for Lagos State. And one of the issues our guest raised was that since the federal government has now told Nigerians that it is a privately funded initiative, it therefore means the investors themselves have the latitude to determine where they would want this facility to be sited, especially in the face of insecurity that is more rife up north. However, the Northern Elders Forum have a different thinking altogether, for the most part based on Nigeria's 1999 constitution as amended. For example, they cite section 16, subsection 1b of the same constitution, the Grandam as lawyers call it, where it says, quotes, furthermore, Section 16, subsection 1b obliges the states to control the national economy in such a manner as to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every citizen on the basis of social justice and equality of status and opportunity. Now, the question is, has that been the case in this instant situation that we're looking at this morning? We're joined by Idris Waziri, who is a lawyer and executive director of the Fiscal and Civic Rights Enlightenment Foundation, to help us look at what exactly the position of Nigerian laws is on this matter, and where, for example, the government has gotten off on the wrong foot right now. Idris, would like to say a big thank you to you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Good morning.
Morning.
So allow Juma and I to grill you, so to speak, for the next couple of minutes. But let's start off with the position of the Northern Elders Forum, which many persons will tell you it is the position of the North. Their position essentially is hinged on the Constitution. Are we going to say, if that is the case, the federal government has been, if you like, oblivious of these constitutional provisions?
All right, so thank you once again. So let us start with what the law says. The section that they cited is correct, and if you recall, the thrust of my privatization case is actually hinged on section 16 itself, which is the government's economic policies directives. Right. So these are mandates that the government of the day is mandated to follow by sections 13 and sections 224 affecting political parties, right? So what does it say? Exactly what you think, and I think the right word was harness, not control. So harness, when you're harnessing, when you're extracting, when you're extracting, there should be that equity of distribution. Now, the government's position is that this refinery is a private initiative. All fine and good, that's all right? The Northern Elders Forum's position, this is where I fault their position. They are right in terms of the law. They are wrong in terms of who they are pointing their fingers at, okay? It's not, if I'm going to invest my money in my own private refinery, assuming it is a private refinery, right?
Without conceding.
Yeah, let's assume it is true, nobody in government has a hand in this refinery. It is somebody who has just invested his money, right? You can't force me to go and put it in Yobe now. You understand? You can't force me to go and put it in Niger State, right? It is on the government of the day, federal government now, to make policies that make sure that that section 16(1)b that you quoted, right, is actually followed. If as a private investor there is no government incentive or enforcement to make sure that value addition takes place where the minerals are extracted, why would I go? That's on the private sector end. The governors now of those northern states, what are you doing? Why have you not set up a refinery in your
this entire time?
Yes. Let's take Niger State, for example, right? So today I'm not here as a politician. I am here as a mining executive, one of the most experienced mining executives, if not the most experienced, right? And I'm here as a stakeholder to say, look, Northern Elders Forum, you're right on the law, you're wrong in who you're pointing the blame at, right? So if we're going to get this thing right, we need national policies that enforce that when you extract minerals from a local oil,
right,
from the south, make sure that the processing, the refinery or whatever is there. Do you understand? If you want to make the argument of putting a refinery in Kaduna, make the argument for distribution and all those kinds of things, not siphoning oil from the south and then going to develop somewhere else from it. So if you take gold from Niger State, for example, I primarily work out of Borgu local government, right? So if you're taking gold from Borgu to take it to go and process it or refine it in Lagos, what have you done? You've taken jobs away from Borgu. Meanwhile, the insecurity, the environmental damage is being done in Niger State, right? So they are not benefiting anything because, again, as a private individual, there is nothing by law that stops me from taking that thing and going to Lagos.
Right.
I want to ask, do you think Nigeria is ready to actually tackle the challenges associated with mineral resources? Do you think we're ready for that we're ready to look at it, and do you think we're ready basically?
We are long overdue. The British, I keep saying it, the British came and put down railways here to extract our resources, okay? We have done nothing with that. All we did was we discovered oil and gas, and we just had tunnel vision for oil and gas ever since. Whereas, I keep telling people, I have an exploration license, right? When I sit down with investors, high net worth individuals, I've had people say, this is just a piece of paper. Yes, it is just a piece of paper now.
Right.
But this same oil block they are spending $80 million to try and secure, right? You're spending that money because exploration was done on that block to determine what the commercial viability of it was.
Right.
And that is why you are now killing yourself to get that location, right? This same license that I'm holding, that many other people have in Nigeria, it requires that same level of risk capital. Now that's the problem in Nigeria, right? Everybody assumes it's government's work to do this exploration. It's not. It is for private individuals, but it is not from me meeting a Dangote and saying, Dangote, come and fund exploration on my license. No, it is too much for one individual, no matter how rich that individual is. You do it the same way other mining countries have done. Let's take Australia, for example. You list a junior mining company, like my own, for example, right? Can I tell you about some? So there's an Australian guy who lives in this country, right? He's married to a Nigerian, so he didn't come to Nigeria looking for mining opportunities. He came here because his father-in-law had health issues. But while here, because he has been in mining finance for 30 years, he saw the gap. So he's like, when we met, he was like, the reason why, Edie, you have spent 11 years trying to raise money unsuccessfully is that you're trying to do it the wrong way. This is how we've done it in in Australia. This is how it's done in Canada and South. Every mining country, this is how you do it. You list junior mining companies on the stock exchange, and you now start to announce the reports, the exploration reports, right? So in Nigeria here, if I go and meet a T.Y. Anjuma, for example, and I say, give me $5 million for exploration, it's either we hit or we miss. And if we miss, his $5 million is gone. Right? However, if you go to the stock exchange and you list that mining company, so I go there with, let's say, a suite of 6 to 10 licenses, and you list me on the stock exchange, those exploration reports that I start to do, and I'm talking about early exploration, the minute they, in the advanced country, when they see those reports, they know what those reports mean. So you list the company at, let's say, $1, right? When the first few reports come in, and I'm still talking about early exploration, the share price starts to go up slightly. You that invested the first $5 million that we did the IPO with, right? Your money has already come back.
Right.
You understand? And it's now a question of how long you leave your money in, or do you remove the principal and leave the jara on top and you move. But what has happened, me and my junior mining company, we have advanced. We now become like Segun Lawson in Osun State, who has now done it exactly what I've described, but he did it with the Canadian Stock Exchange, the TSX. So it's not rocket science.
Perhaps he tried it successfully back at home, it didn't work.
Obviously. In fact, the license that he actually used was a license that has been passed over from one entity to another, and each entity will come and do some work. So Segun kind of came in at the right time, where he got the necessary reports and the data that he now went to the stock exchange and listed and raised the money to now come back and do further exploration that now allowed him to now unlock $100 million to now set up the kind of world-class operation that he's doing right now. So my question to high net worth individuals in Nigeria is this: if Segun Lawson Thor exploration is proof of concept, why am I still struggling to convince you people to come together and form little groups? So okay, this group of Jim Ovia, Tony Elemulu and Dangote put together $5 million for Mineral Quest. This other group put together $5 million for Peacock, for example, and let this Australian guy who is licensed to go and list companies on the stock exchange go and list us there. When I release my reports, you in Nigeria here don't know it, don't understand it, but they over there do. And I'm making you money from exploration phase. You understand?
From what you're saying, Idris, I know Juma is loaded with questions for you, but from the way you're sounding, it appears we are still scratching the surface. But I'm wondering, you just mentioned a few HNIs now, I mean, the Dangotes, the Ovias, and all of that. Is it like they're not seeing the promise in these, or they're also concerned about the volatility of the space?
I am not, honestly, I can't explain. Like I said, I've been at this now for a total of about 14 years, right?
And that's a long time.
Yeah, so if there's anything I've spent time on, it is mining, okay? So my question, I don't understand why there is a lack of appetite for this thing. Yes, okay, I have the answer actually, sorry.
Okay.
Our Nigerian investors do not understand mid to long-term investments. They only understand short-term. And the best short-term is oil. Right. Go and get an oil block and you are in private jets and the rest of them, and that's it. Either that or get government contracts. So outside of that in Nigeria, unless you come from the southeast or the southwest of Nigeria who understand business or industrialization and all of that, nothing works. And nothing is going to work.
Oh, all right. Okay, you have a question.
No, basically, do you think in Nigeria we do not understand this mining process and how it's going to help develop our nation as a whole? That we've not gotten to that part yet where we truly understand it as Nigerians.
Well, as Nigerians, we can't say we don't understand it. Don't we have people who work in Chevrons and Shells?
We do.
We do.
Some of the finest.
And higher executives, right? So it's the same principle. It's still geology. We're just looking at this different mineral here. Do you understand? So the same way you go and do your drilling to confirm whether this new block that you discovered, like now for the oil blocks that they're saying that the oil that we have in the north, what is about to happen? You're supposed to go and do exploration to confirm the reserves.
Right.
Same thing. So why are we doing it with our mineral sector? Like I keep saying, when Buhari came in 2015, the first thing he announced was diversification of our economy into both mining and agriculture. Again, I do both because for me, what I found is during the rainy season, mining activities stop because all the mining pits are filled with water, right? So if you continue to mine, either people are drowning or the things are collapsing, right? So the miners themselves, who are mostly artisanal, switch to farming. Right, so I figured that if you're going to have an all-year-round operation, you have to integrate both mining and agriculture. Right now, I'm saying these things because for me, I learned something from John, the Australian guy I was telling you about. These are what I would call intellectual property, things that I've learned over 14 years. I don't have a problem saying it out for the whole world because I want Nigeria to develop. You understand? The reason why I'm coming today as a mining executive and not a politician is the other day I came for an interview with your colleague.
Right.
And I was speaking to someone who I respect dearly, and he said, Idi, what are you? As in, he didn't actually ask me that. He told me a story about someone who was asked, what is he? And he said he's in opposition. They said, well, opposition of what? He's like, no, I'm just opposition. So it got me thinking. And I was like, okay, what am I? Do you understand? So let me define who I am. I am somebody who is deeply concerned about where we are as a country, and I feel I can offer help in terms of think tanking, whatever it is that moves us forward as a nation. I have proposed a manifesto for a United Tribes of Nigeria. Let us rebrand ourselves as a nation. Like I said, you mentioned Section 16. Section 16 talks about our economic policies. Section 17, I think, talks about our social objectives, right? So social objectives are things like free housing, free education, free healthcare. These things are possible, right, if we follow that section that you quoted earlier, that equitable distribution, right? We would have no Boko Haram in the northeast if we are processing our minerals there. For example, in my state, we have potassium, we have gypsum. There's not oil, it's not gold, but these are things that would interest a pharmaceutical company. So why isn't my governor, these people that are forming this Northern Forum, whatever, why haven't you thought about setting up a deal with Pfizer or some big pharmaceutical conglomerate, right? Or even our Igbo brothers who have a knack for these kinds of things. Right. Come, see the raw material for these medicines. Let us set up some kind of factory over there. But no, you want to come and start shouting that it is, why go and take it to Lagos? It's not Lagos' problem that you were sleeping and they woke up to something that you were lying on top of all this time. No.
You have mentioned governors now twice in the course of this conversation. Does it mean these governors are lagging? Because I realize when we had the issues around the proposed tax bills, as they were, now laws, the governors were very vehement and very clear as to their position, all 19 of them. At the point, they even had to, quote unquote, drag the president into a meeting where the governor of Nasarawa State came out and told pressmen that the issues had been resolved. Both the governors and the federal government were now on the same page regarding the tax issues and all of that. Why are we not seeing the same energy when it comes to minerals? I mean, the North, to put it very mildly, is abundantly blessed with these minerals. But then it appears to be more of a problem than it should be a blessing. For example, Dede Alake, Minister of Solid Minerals Development, has told this country that there are powerful Nigerians behind illegal mining. Of course, we don't have those names. Are we sleeping on it, or we just don't want to rock the boat?
Well, first and foremost, if you're mining, you know those names, right? So that conspiracy theory is real, all right? But again, my question is this: why? Let's open it up now. Do you understand? Why? Okay, if you have the resources to actually do this thing you're doing, why don't you bring it in? Let me give you an example. You know this refinery yogurt? Right. You see it everywhere. It's sprung up out of the blue, right? But if you look at the penetration that they've had, right? My first thinking was, this is money laundering, right? But my second thought immediately after that was, even if it is money laundering, I prefer this kind of money laundering to the one that will go and pack the money in somewhere in Europe, and he's not using it, we are not benefiting from it. So refinery yogurt now, I'm not saying they're money laundering, by the way, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if for a company to come up and penetrate in terms of distribution the way they have, what have they done? They've created enough employment. Do you understand? I've seen that branch in places you would never think about seeing them. So, and somebody's being employed to stay there, Abby. I'm all right with that kind of, if at all, I'm all right with that. So what we need is, we need to integrate everything. We need to put people with, for the president, you're going into what is supposed to be your second term. What should be your final hurrah as far as politics, right? So you owe nobody any favors anymore. All right, granted, you spent your first term and you put political people in positions. So let's talk about the Minister of Solid Minerals, for example, right? And every single minister before him, they have been political appointments. They have not been people who are fit for the job at hand. All right, you have no ideas on how to actually develop this sector. You right now, based on what I just said, I'm not saying what I've told you now is the end all and be all solution for Nigeria, but believe me, if it is implemented as a federal policy, i.e. every Nigerian that is holding a license that has been issued by mining cadastral office, go and I know people that have 100 licenses. If it wasn't for this minister that increased the annual service fees that we pay to government every year, right? People are holding on to 100 licenses. And then
what are they doing with that bunch of licenses?
Sorry?
What are they doing with that stack of licenses?
That's the thing. So you see, this increase that he's done, while exorbitant, I used to pay about 2 million for our licenses. It shot up to about 14 million in one sitting.
Is that per annum?
Yeah, per annum, right? It was a huge bump, but what it's going to do is sanitize the industry. It's going to get rid of the jokers that are holding on to these licenses and not doing anything with them. Now, those of us that are serious, and those of us that see sense in what someone like John is saying, I'm not saying it must be John. And what John is even saying is that I did not invent the wheel on this. This is what everybody else is doing. Right? So again, don't use his company or use his company. That's entirely up to you. In fact, better yet, form a group. If you can give me Fatih Shinkafi, that's the head of SMDF, Solid Mineral Development Fund. If you can give me the head of the NGSA, the DG of the NGSA. If you can give me the Minister of Solid Minerals, right? If you can give me the head of NGX, the DG of SEC. let us sit down. Let us talk about changing our own stock exchange laws to allow junior mining companies that don't have a tax history, that all they are having is these licenses, right? To be able to say, let us list them on the stock exchange. Let us allow people to now spread the risk amongst all Nigerians. Let you be able to put in your 10 naira, you put your 100 naira, let them go take put his 1
So we all own it.
We all own it. Do you understand? So me now, the owner of Mineral Quest Exploration and Mining Company, I have my 6 to 10 licenses. You now are my investors. Do you understand? We have now raised our $5 million. Oh yeah, we go to ASX. Oh yeah, we have listed. The minute, like I said, we start giving reports in, you may not understand the reports. NGX may not understand the reports. SEC may not understand the reports, but the ASX does. Do you understand? And like I said, by the time so there's 7 stages in the mining cycle: license acquisition, early exploration, advanced exploration, feasibility report, raising the financing, the mining, and all of that, right? So between the stage 2, early exploration, advanced exploration, stage 3, feasibility report, stage, so your feasibility report, resource estimation and feasibility report, that's stage 4, right? Those 3 stages, that's where you, those HNIs, or you that put in your little 100 naira will make your money. Do you understand? Because like I said, the share price is going. So what you started with a listing of, let's say, $1 ends up being valued at $10. Do you understand? And every time there's a spike in those reports, let's say, for example, there's a huge lithium discovery, and most of our minerals are very high grade minerals. And again, they're shallow. Unlike in the West or the rest of the world, where they have already mined, they're now having to go very deep, very expensive to mine their thing. Our own is shallow and it is very rich. Do you understand? So let's say there's now, as you're doing your exploration, there's now a huge discovery and it's high grade. You see that your share price is going to now jump. Right? That's when you now turn to, you became a Dangote overnight. So those are the opportunities that are there. But like I said, when you put the wrong people, political people, in appointed places, where that is the engine room, or where you're saying you want to turn our economy around, then I look at you and say you're not really serious. So when you ask, is it that we don't understand it?
Exactly.
No, we don't understand it, and we're not serious about it. That's the bottom line.
So that's one of the major challenges when it has to do with
Absolutely,
the mining
right at the top of the list.
All right, let's begin to wrap up now. Let's talk about private sector participation. Politicians will always think as politicians, and that's, in this sense, includes the governors themselves. But what more work can we do to ensure that we drag in as much private sector participation as possible? Because obviously this is flying over the head of politicians across these states where you have these mineral deposits.
Well, it's not flying across the head, like we talked about it earlier. There's illegal operations going on, both on artisanal level and on kingpin levels.
Right.
You understand? So what we need to do, like I said, it's about transparency. Do you understand?
Who needs to be transparent now?
Everybody. The government, one, right? The private practitioners. So like I said, everything kind of stems from government.
Right.
That's why. So there's federal government and then there's state government. Now all licenses in this sector are with the federal government. So state governors can technically have no say in the matter, technically. But you see, as a lawyer now, I'll now bring the Land Use Act for you. Hey, you see, this one is exposed now. But yeah, again, it's for the country, right? So now, if I'm a governor now, right, you say the first thing I need is consent. Can't you know? So I'm sorry. You know what? Consent is the first thing, right? So who owns all the land in a state? Governor, right? Land Use Act. So therefore, all consent technically falls with him, right? So if he wanted, he could say, okay, all licenses are now to me. But that now brings me back to my socialist inclination, right? So I've sat here now telling you that I'm a private sector person and I'm a stakeholder in this industry. But politically, I am advocating for a reversion. We should go away from this capitalist thing. Nobody should have a license individually. Me now, if I have my way, I'm returning my license.
So we should democratize.
Have it. Do you understand? More importantly, let it belong to the people where those minerals are found. So if, for example, now in my own United Tribes of Nigeria model,
where will you impute regulations in all of this if everyone should have it?
Sorry, come again.
Where will you impute regulations, It
depends on what model you're following. So if we're following, let's say, the socialist model, right? So all things are owned by the state, as the constitution already mandates right now. That's why I said PDP and APC should not be parties in Nigeria, because they are violating section 16(1)(c), right? These resources belong to all of us, right? So the Niger Delta person now, let's say I'm in Northeast and I hold an oil block. why isn't Tompolo saying, why shouldn't he be crying now? Do you understand? How can you be over there and you are the one reaping the benefits of why my people are here? Now, the question of why your governor has allowed oil spilling and all of that, all the environmental damage to carry on for all these years. They, just like with the Northern Governments Forum, the same question now goes to your governor. Why is this going on? That is not the northern person's problem.
Exactly.
That is your governor and your people and your representatives and your senator. Everything that the environmental damage is right on your doorstep. It's nobody else's fault. The companies are giving money. It's not reaching where it's supposed to go. The government is giving you allocations for this. There are bodies that have been set up for this environmental thing. Where is all that money going to? Why are you abusing that northerner that has legitimately gotten his license from government? Because that is the policy of the day. If you want to change it, let's have the discussion about changing it. But you can't say that that is allowed and then now start pointing fingers, like I said, wrong
direction. All right. Incidentally, that's what we're going to leave this conversation this morning. But again, the federal government has responded saying that this is an entirely private initiative. We would like to say a big thank you to you, Barrister Idris Waziri, for coming on the program. Just for the records, Idris is also the Executive Director of Fiscal and Civic Rights Enlightenment Foundation. All right, let's take a break, everyone. Up next, we'll look at the state of the nation from the standpoint of 2027 politics. The Labour Party, again, is big in the news this time. Leadership has been taken off the hands of Barrister Julius Saburi-led faction and handed to the Nadi Usman-led wing of the party. What does this and more mean for Nigeria's politics? We'll find out after this short break. Please do stay with us. Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.